stunning. I was like, oh shit. And he just walks up to her. He goes, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen, right? And she just goes, okay. He goes, all right. And he gets his sandwich and he walks away. And I died laughing because I was like, bro, what the fuck was that? Just get your fucking sandwich and go. But he would do that multiple times, right? And then it would work. So it's not like his approach was wrong. It's just that was just the probability of that. Maybe it wasn't the setting. Maybe she wasn't feeling him. But I started to realize, like, watching him and how he would go in without doubting himself. And I think that was a thing that would just grab girls' attention, right?
His approach was totally wrong. 100% wrong.
Tight.
And
like,
what he was getting away with was the fact that he didn't give a fuck. And he would go to the next person. But if I told him, and you know, I'm being very dramatic right now, but I'm like, yo, your mom is going to die. If you don't, out of the 3 girls, you don't get this girl. He would change his approach. The fact that he was confident was like, I kind of nailed it before he said it. He didn't care if he got rejected.
Yeah.
But to compliment a girl on her beauty is my biggest pet peeve ever. You don't compliment a girl on their beauty when you approach her. You compliment her on something that she had to work for. Therefore, she's gonna go out. She took 20 minutes to think about, what high heels do I want to wear? What dress do I want to wear? So if you go, I gotta tell you, I'm here with my buddy David. I appreciate your fashion. Like, that's really
He should have
cool.
been like, yo, the sandwich that you made me, yo, that shit right there, dude. I never had a Subway sandwich like that in my life.
And then she's like, okay, where do I suck your dick? Based not on a true story, guys.
It's like, not a single man told me that my turkey sandwich game was like that.
But literally, that's the concept of it. It's like, whatever the girl had to work for, she would appreciate that a lot more. Therefore, I'm going to make another analogy. A lot of guys that I coach, I was about to say the famous people, but like their like father and mother are really big actors. They never had to work for the money. So they were given that, so they don't appreciate that. Rather, people that had to do a podcast for 10, you know, do all this stuff, when they get that money, you worked for it. You appreciate that a lot more. Same thing for women.
Yeah.
If they had to work for something, you say it. Appreciate your fashion. You have good energy. That is the way to go.
That's good to know, because I feel like that's like the standard thing to do, right? Oh, let me go compliment her on how pretty she is, or all that type of stuff.
Yeah, because I think if I look back, and I say when I was, I say, you know, young 18 and younger, right? I think I was always scared of, because of how unconfident I was about my approach, because I didn't want to come off as creepy. Right? Or I feel like that's the death word for guys. If a girl calls you a creep, it's like almost calling us like a rapist. You know, it's like, fuck. Like I want to fucking, because I want to remember too that, you know, this approach of me just like not caring so much took time, right? Because, you know, high school David was not this way. You know, high school David had one girl that he wanted, and then when I got her, it reminds me of your situation, right? So when I received, I did that where I made her seem perfect. So when she left me, I mentioned this on the podcast, when she left me, I felt that my value was in her. So if she,
I love you said that right now. Yeah.
So I lost value of myself. So when she was like, David, I don't want to be with you anymore, it's because then I was like, oh, I don't have meaning because my meaning is in you. And so that was like the biggest, it took me like, I say 2 years to get over. And those 2 years of my life was some of the worst moments of my life, because I didn't understand my value. And so she was the biggest blessing in disguise, because I experienced that. I was like, wait a second, you're a fucking loser. You know, why don't you value yourself first before you go ahead and try to seek that in somebody else? And I had this moment, and it's, oh man, you this motherfucker. So there was a point where I had she ended up being with somebody else that was trying to get with her while we were together. Oh, right. God. And that shit devastated me, because that motherfucker was a loser. Right. So I was like, out of all the people you could have got, why this guy?
So if he was a loser and you got with him, that makes me dirt loser below ground. And I'm going to go through a depression for 2 years. Go fuck yourself.
That's what it made me feel like. And I was so fucking torn about that shit, but I remember there was a moment where she and I desperately was trying to get her back, right, for the next year and a half, because we were best friends before we got together. And so at this moment, I remember this day like it was yesterday. It was I was taking her to community college after I left UCR. I went to community college, and then she was there too. So we lived close to each other, and I wanted to develop this friendship again after we broke up. That I would take her to class because I wanted to get close to her, right? Again, she wasn't interested in me, but she looked at me one day and she goes, "You know, you're really kind of annoying." And I stopped for a second and I went, I looked at her, I was like, annoying, and that shit made me mad. And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You're kind of obnoxious." And I remember when she said that, I was mad because what she said was true. It wasn't because she said something rude. It's because what she said was true. I was begging for this girl's attention so fucking hard. That was so obnoxious. Yeah. And at that, I remember that moment so well because I was like, "David, you are not going to be that guy anymore. Take a look at yourself. What the fuck are you doing, man?" And so when they broke up, I remember this moment so well. She came to my house and she was like, "Hey, so I broke up with him." And I looked at her. I was like, "That's cool. Why are you telling me?" Right? And she goes, "Well, like, you know, I just, you know, we're just not working out anymore. So, you know, like, I just wanted somebody to come to." And I was like, "You came to the wrong door." I was like, "Why are you here?" And then it kind of like, I could tell it irritated her a little bit. And it was just so interesting where I had that moment and I was like, I've been playing this whole thing wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I thought once again that me being the agreeable guy, taking her to school, doing all this stuff, trying to be the important person in her life was going to create value, and it didn't. And that was the turning point for me where I was like, "You know what, dude, you're doing this fucking all wrong."
How did you realize you're doing it wrong? Like that, I feel like that's very impressive. How did you do that?
I think it's just, you know, I talked about that personality of